This episode of the Kevin Dwayne podcast is brought to you by procrastination, because this shit should have came out 3 weeks ago. Yo, what's going on? This is Kevin Dwayne, and you're listening to the Kevin Dwayne podcast. I have to get used to saying that because naturally I want to say the Outline podcast, and I'll talk about that name change in just a little bit. But I am recording in New York, which is kind of like my primary residence these days. I still frequent Atlanta, Georgia, but I have been big kicking it in New York. I'm a city boy, and I've grown to really embrace that. When I lived in LA, I loved living in LA, but then when time was up and I moved out, I loved living in Atlanta, but because Atlanta provides kind of the suburb life, but you can also get the hood living too. So it was perfect. Whereas in New York, it's just all city. I mean, there's some places here that are quieter than others, but it's still very much like a booming kind of place. And I love it. I'm here for it. I survived my first winter last year, so I'm not really pressed about this year. Although it's a little cold right now. I feel like the fall season came and just said, fuck everybody. It honestly is in par with everything that 2020 has given us, because last week it was humid and fucking 75 and now it's like 50 and like there's a little breeze and I'm like, okay, I got to pull my big coats out and put on my thotty clothes in the back of the closet and it's okay. But we all know that with the colder weather, you also get sweatpants season, which is just a glorious time where dick is just swinging in your local bodega or Walmart, Target, whatever store you frequent. Dick is there and it's ready for you to look at. And that's beautiful. Now, not for all men. Some men don't have the dick to support sweatpants. You know who you are. It's fine. Just stick to the rivers and lakes that you're used to and continue wearing those chinos you got from Banana Republic for 70% off. Beware, though. It's also cuffing season. You got to be real careful with who you choose. Who you choose might fuck your life up or enhance it. Niggas are known to be very consistent during this time. They're going to come over. They're going to lie to you about the future. They're going to steal your Netflix and Hulu passwords, eat all your food, but they're going to give you some of the best demon dick you've ever had in your life. And it's going to have you thinking you might have a future with this nigga. Don't believe it. You will still be at El Torito happy hour with your homegirl talking about niggas ain't shit. Not that I have any experience with that. So back to the podcast. So I changed the name of the show. I announced this last month when I posted the updated cover art. And I did it for a couple reasons. I have had the Outline brand for over 10 years. It started out in 2009. I was a huge B. Scott fan. I loved B. Scott. And watching YouTube, I was like, I want to do something like this. So I started my own YouTube channel. And it was called Out of Line. At the time, I was really heavy into church, still very much a Christian, and I was very influenced by people in the church. And I remember one of the elders was like, I don't really like that you call it Out of Line because it makes you seem rebellious and you're probably rebellious against Christ and yada, 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 yada. These are also white Christians, so you probably already know what that entails as well. So it was very much like that. And I was like, oh, you're right. I don't want to be out of line. Then I changed the shit to the Outline. I'm like, oh, it still works because it's like a bulletin and da, 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 da. It's cool. And it was all for YouTube. That's where the theme song came from. My brother produced that theme song for me, I want to say in 2010. Yep, it was 2010. So that song itself is 10 years old. I know you guys love it, but it had to go. It was driving me crazy, but you can still listen to it on previous episodes. Had the theme song, made YouTube videos, and that was a good time. A lot of people know me from the YouTube days, and I appreciate that. And that's awesome. But I'm not the same 23-year-old from 2009. I'll actually be 35 God, in March, less than 6 months. And I can't believe that. I mean, I embrace it. I actually am one of the gays who looks forward to getting older because I feel like niggas start maturing and I might have a chance at like a relationship with one of you motherfuckers because we're all growing older, you know, we're all getting the place we need to be. But I digress. That was, my math is just really fucked up right now. 11 years ago. Okay, cool. When I did the podcast, when I started the podcast in 2016, I got to a place where I was tired of doing video because I do everything. So I was the one producing it, doing the lighting, the editing. I'm sweating on the fucking screen. It was just a lot of cosmetic shit that I just didn't want to deal with video. So I was like, you know what? Let me do a podcast. I kid you not. I woke up. Well, no, let me not lie to y'all. I talked to someone else about doing a podcast with them. We couldn't quite get it together just for creative differences as far as like how things had to be. And then so much time went by that I was like, okay, I'm going to lose my inspiration for this. I need to just go ahead and strike while the iron is hot. So I hit them up and said, hey, I'm thinking of doing a solo podcast. We can still do one as a duo later, but is it going to be a problem with you if I go ahead and just do this solo? And they were like, no, go for it. Do your damn thing. After that, I told one other friend and I was like, I'm going to do a podcast. Do you know my first show was up the very next day? I wasted no time. I mean, your boy's a photographer, so I did all my little headshots. I did my cover. I edited it. I put it up. I went and bought the equipment that day from Fry's Electronics down the street from my place when I was in Duluth, Georgia. Recorded the show that night. It was up the next day because it's just one of those things where one thing about me is when I'm inspired by something or when I really want to do something, it comes easy. But when I lose that inspiration is when it's tough. Hence why it's taken so much for me to kind of get this show out. And I'll dig into that as well. For like 2.5 years, it was consistent. Then I changed jobs and then I came up to New York and then my schedule didn't allow me to do a consistent show. So I kind of ended it. So now you have the Outline podcast where I'm doing a show like once every 6 months. And then I came back earlier this year with the pandemic, but I was still working. So it was still hard for me to be consistent. And so part of it ended up putting a bad taste in my mouth. I started believing that I wasn't as inspired by the Outline podcast as I thought I was. Furthermore, when you search for the Outline podcast, there is actually another website called The Outline. See, my brand, I guess, is just Kevin Dwayne, you know, and then the Outline podcast was just kind of like a subsection of Kevin Dwayne, which is me. But there's actually a media page called The Outline. And I think they might be in the UK. I didn't really do much research on them. I just know that when you search for The Outline, you're getting 2 different results. And I don't like that shit. I don't like that shit. And when you search for my shit, I want you to see my shit. So that always kind of bothered me. They didn't have a podcast called The Outline Podcast, but they had another show that was presented by The Outline, if that makes sense. And it was too close for comfort for me. So that always kind of bugged me when it came to where I wanted the show to go and where I wanted the brand to go. So there was that. So I was looking for a reset. I felt like, okay, The Outline has done right by me when it came to YouTube when I was a 23-year-old. But now as someone who will be 35, I just wanted something new, something fresh, and something that felt a little more authentic to me. Not to say that the previous podcast wasn't authentic to me. I was pretty fucking honest on there. Honestly, scarily honest, because I don't know everything that I've said on that show. And that's a fear of mine. I have a fear of getting like a level of popularity and then knowing I probably said some crazy shit in the 2 years that I was consistently doing the podcast. And then someone gets a little quotable and now my ass is getting lit up on Twitter for some shit I said or some shit I felt about. And that's why I try to be as honest as possible. And I also don't look to offend. And I also don't look to be edgy. My goal is never to be edgy or gossipy or trying to provide shock. The whole purpose of me doing shit like this is just to be authentic and to be real. So in a way, I felt like changing the name to the Kevin Dwayne podcast will make it more authentic. It will be more me. It will be very much what I want to do. There was a lot of expectations that I put on myself. I won't blame other people. I put on myself with the Outline podcast as far as like content and what people wanted to hear versus what I just wanted to fucking talk about. This is very much going to be what the fuck I want to talk about, because I've learned that if you're not passionate about something, it's not going to go well. When you try to force content that you think people want, it just doesn't flow. It sounds fake. It sounds forced. And I want this to still feel like a conversation with me. I want this show to still feel like you were talking to your homeboy. Now, that don't mean we Judies though, because I gotta say this. Now, I have people listen to the show. They're great supporters, but I'll meet people like in public or like even in the comments or DMs, and motherfuckers be comfortable. Like, it's interesting. It's weird for me. It's weird for me when people that I don't know personally be calling me sis and bitch and girl. It's weird for me because that's very much something that I'll do with my actual fucking friends. But when a stranger is in your comments and saying certain shit like that, it comes across almost disrespectful in a way, because it's like, you don't even know me. You don't even know if I'm comfortable with you calling me this, because I'm not. I'm actually not. I'm actually kind of seething and being like, what the fuck? But I get it. It's like it's a connection. It's a term of endearment with people. I get it. But at the same time, you still need to kind of see what people are about and see what they're comfortable with. It's just weird for me when strangers are like calling me out of my name, even if they're being endearing. So, yeah. But all I have to say is, it still should sound like you're talking to a friend weekly, okay? But we're just not actual friends in real life. We could be, but we also cannot be. I just need y'all to know the difference. That's it. So there was that part. And then I feel like where I am in life has just been so different. Like with the quarantine, a lot of people have been at home. They've been very introspective. I speak for self. I've been in my mind a lot this year. And that's a lot to say, considering I'm always in my mind. But this year I've had a lot of fucking time to just chill and think and kind of ponder over like, what's my purpose, or what is my end game? What do I want my legacy to be? What do I want to do with my platform? How do I make this work to where it doesn't feel like a job? It doesn't feel like I'm forcing it. So the name change was needed. It was like, you know what? Let's just start over. I've started over in so many other ways. Like, I don't live in the same state I lived in when I started the show. I'm not the same person. I mean, there's studies that show that we as humans evolve about every 7 years, mentally, physically, like our minds change. Like everyone evolves, you would hope. Some people don't. We all got those people we knew in high school. You see them now and they still doing the same fucking shit they were doing in high school. We're not talking about them. We're talking about everybody else who allows life to help them grow. And every 7 years you change. And I figure it's about that time for my next evolution, to say. So I was like, let's move into something that is solely me. And by calling it the Kevin Dwayne podcast, that's my name. So this is very much like this is my self-titled moment. This is my Beyonce's 5th album, Janet's fifth album as well. This is my self-titled moment. So it's going to be the most raw, the most honest and sensual set of tracks you've ever heard from me as an artist. So that's ultimately why I did it. Your boy lost some weight this year. It wasn't the first. And it's funny because I love how there's people who've been around since the beginning and they know that my weight yo-yos. I've been small, I've been bigger, I've been smaller, I've been bigger, I've been smaller. It goes up and down. I hope that this go round is a little more long lasting. I hope it's not going to be a thing where I just balloon back up because I'm trying to watch it. But I love how everyone treats this particular weight loss like it's the first time I've done this. I was like, but I've done this before. And you guys have literally given me the same weird praise about, like, people are very weird about fitness. You have some people who are just like, oh, great job. You look great. What are your secrets? Keep up the good work, blah, 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 blah. Or you have people like, oh, yeah, you were a fat bitch. I'm glad you finally lost weight. Rude, 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 rude. But then you also have the people who are like, oh, I liked you bigger. I don't know what to do with that. I don't know what to do with that comment. What the fuck do you go look at my old pictures then? You want the old Kanye? Listen to College Dropout. You want the old Kevin? Go to my shit from 2013. I am not about to just put on weight to feed some weird desire you have for me, because we probably not fucking, so why would I care about how you want me to look? So you get those weird comments, but I have lost some weight. So that was a reset on health. I'm in a new city, reset on residence. I'm just in a mentally different space. So with that said, I had to go ahead and just change the name of the show. It feels more comfortable. It feels more organic. I was a little more creative this go around when it came to how I wanted to brand it and the coloring. The Outline podcast was literally me just kind of jumping off a ledge and say, this is what I want to do. And so I kind of threw it together and just learned along the way. Now I have the knowledge of that and I'm able to just put it into this show and just make it better. And so I'm more comfortable now, I would say. And yeah, so I'm happy those of you who are still rocking with me and still listening, I appreciate it. This episode is called Reset because that's literally what this is. This is me starting over, moving forward with a different mentality. I think that has been the theme for the year. Quarantine, COVID, everything has caused everyone to kind of start over in some kind of way. Like, even if you were just at home for a couple weeks and you were out of work or whatever the situation is, everyone had a moment where they literally were just in the house and kind of starting from zero. And so that's where I'm at. I just want a fresh slate and just to move forward with that. On an even more personal level and still with the theme of a reset, I was thinking a lot about like my love life and where I stand now at present. I'm still very much a hopeless romantic. Now, I talk a lot of shit. I know I can be nonchalant as fuck. If you've dated me, either I know it's a wild ride, and I apologize to any of you that I have scared off either because I was an asshole to you or I was too clingy. I'm working on balancing. It's tough. It's hard out here for a Pisces. Working on it. Anywho, I've been thinking about that because the last 5 years I've been mostly single, meaning I've not exclusively been with anybody since my last relationship. Like at all. There's been people that I've kind of dated or people that I've been into, but nothing came of it, and it just is what it is. Now, granted, I would love for something to come of one of these connections in the future because I think companionship is dope. I love being single. I love sleeping in my bed alone. I love being able to come and go as I please. But I also like consistent sex too. And here's the thing, being single, yes, you can definitely have consistent sex. You can have them niggas lined up back to back to back to back to back. And it's great. Cool. But shit gets a little tricky sometimes and it gets it's a lot. I personally wouldn't mind having one person to just fuck and just call it a day, because even that is better than just all the extras that come with being single and all that shit. Anywho, so I still have a certain optimism for relationships. But when I was younger, I realized this. I put so much of that optimism into seeking companionship, and I wasn't putting it into brand or career. Like, I just wasn't. My goal was always on some get in a relationship, like a actual relationship, not a fake, oh, I just wanted to say I haven't. No, been there, done that, didn't work out. No, I actually want a meaningful, efficient, loving partnership with somebody. That is still a goal of mine. But I was putting so much into that I wasn't putting into anything else. I think everything else just kind of fell to the wayside. It was like, oh, if I'm successful, cool. If I get some money, cool. If I'm this, cool. But it was always like, yes, I want a relationship. And so after quite a few years of disappointment, I'm kind of in a place now where I'm like, still would like a relationship, but I'm going to switch that optimism towards career and the places it belongs. And that's kind of another reason where I was like, let's try this podcast again. Let's see what you can do with a little bit more free time, because I'm actually on leave from work for a year. So I really ain't doing shit except chilling. It's going to be my eat, pray, bust year. I'm just literally chilling, traveling when I want, and just working on creative shit. So I was like, all right, so how about we spend this time putting all that energy you put into seeking relationships and put it into your brand, put it into yourself, put it into your art, and just see what comes of that. Because what I've learned about manifestation is that you can't control people with manifestation. So it's hard when it comes to like relationships, but you can manifest situations or opportunities that can lead you to said relationships, if that makes sense. I was reading this book. It was all about manifesting, and it talks about how you should, when you're putting your vision boards together and when you're setting intentions, you should never involve specific people, because when you involve specific people in specific places, you're actually causing their manifestations to be altered. For example, let's say you see a house you really like and you're like, oh my God, I want that house, that exact house on that corner. It's my house. Well, guess what? If you get that house, the family that's in it is going to lose that house. And that's pretty fucked up. You know what I mean? Regardless of how it happens, if you manifest it that hard, you're actually causing someone else to be displaced. And that's why it says you shouldn't be that damn specific. It should be like, I would like a house like this. I would like a relationship like this. It can't be, I want that nigga. Like that specific nigga, I want him. Although there's a lot of specific niggas that I would like, and it would be great if I could have them, but that's neither here nor there. I want a nigga like them. How about that? Cool. Since, like I said, manifestations don't work that way, let me put it to something that I know I can do. I've done really, really well at getting what I want when it comes to career and lifestyle and the type of life that I want to live. I'm actually very happy with the life that I have, and there's still plenty that I want to do. But now I just want to move my intentions into this. I want to put more into the podcast, more into my personal brand, and just do more of what I love and just see how that works. I'm sure a meaningful relationship will come later. I just have to kind of turn that hopeless romantic hat off for a little bit, because honestly, it's only causing disappointment at this juncture. And I'm kind of tired of feeling it. I've been dating since I was 18. Yeah, 16 years of kind of just the ups and downs of that shit. It kind of weighs on you. And even with the break I took in the 5 years since my last relationship, there's still been moments of heartbreak. There's still been moments of disappointment. And it's just all because of that same nagging feeling of like, this is what I want. Why can't I have it? So I'm kind of letting it take a backseat. I'm kind of chilling. I'm not joining the bitter club, because definitely not that. I will still fall in love with a nigga tomorrow. I'm just redirecting. I'm redirecting, and I want to put more into this podcast, into my brand, and just to like personal ventures. And I'm just going to trust and believe that the other stuff will come when it should. I believe it'll happen one day. And when that day is, it'll be just that. And I hope that is just right for me. So, yeah, at this point, that's really all I got for this week's show. I just wanted to kind of come back and reintroduce myself, talk about the reset that has happened. I hope that you guys enjoy the shows coming up. There'll be guests, all that good shit, just a different name and a different vibe, but still me, still here. Yeah. So until next time, peace out.